All right, what's good in the hood? Come at you with another rant edition today. This is somewhat old news, but I think it's still pertinent because it's going to be probably one of the topics of interest for 2026. Could be the feud of the year for 2026. I'm predicting these things, but frankly, I'm just a little angry. I'm a little raged. Arman, he was always probably one of my. He's not the most exciting fighter at times, but he's one of my favorites, and it was mainly because I was hoping him versus Islam 2 was going to be this massive fight that obviously never transpired, but nonetheless, yeah, he was a top contender in one of the top weight classes, lightweight. He's the number one contender, been there for a while, and I'm going to go through some of the timeline of events that led us to him being. How should we say? He's in the dog pen with the UFC. Rightfully so, maybe. But at this point, it's probably been overdone. Well, I'm going to jump right into what the current timeline, the current stance right now. So Dana White, he was asked. I believe this was the press conference for the pay per view this weekend, right, or last weekend. Time flipping around in my head. So they asked, they were obviously like, you have this a fight announced for the interim belt. The number one contender, Arman's not there. Someone decided to ask Dana after a monumental event, no less, the big upset with Marab. They were like, so what's the deal with Arman? The number one contender. Where is he? What's he doing? Why isn't he getting an interim title belt? This is what Dana had to say. Dana White says Arman will not be getting the next title shot and he has to work his way back to a title fight. In quotes, you miss the opportunity sometimes and he did, ... So if you haven't been keeping this on your radar, because this is a saga that's been going on all of 2025, this will probably, if they did awards, this would be literally the controversy of the year. This goes all the way back to 311. So Arman, he's been pretty inactive, but he did have a fight booked way back. I think that would have been around January, February, I want to say. Yeah, January. He was supposed to fight Islam. He was on a multi-fight win streak, had beaten Charles. Before that, finished Beneil. So, and his really only loss was his first fight to Islam way back, years back on his debut, short notice. And he had a close loss to Gamrot. Many thought that he won. I thought he won too. So all in all, he was perceived to be a pretty tough contender for Islam. Obviously, the fight didn't happen. He had a, in quotes, back injury. If you know, you know. There was some controversy on this. I will play a quick non-audio video. As you can see, I do not have a Facebook here. It will not show my identity. But Arman, this was, I believe, the day before the fight, no less. Oop, we will stop there. That's a little not PG. But yeah, so Arman, he pulled out literally the day before the fight. Like, it was around, I believe, this was Thursday. He's doing his, like, wrestling drills with Nina, staring at her butt while her husband's filming this. But yeah, so he obviously pulled out. There's rumors it was because he was having a hard weight cut. He said it was a back injury. I'm going to assume it's somewhere in the middle where he has a bad back that can flare up and, trying to cut to 155, and he does definitely cut a lot of weight. There's definitely a probability that was, amplified, which then in turn makes the weight cut harder, and he said he couldn't sleep because of the pain. So I get where he's coming from. Obviously, the reverse side is that the UFC is in a really tough position because they end up having to go with Renato Money Morocano, and then he got destroyed in one round to Islam. So that on its own was a big letdown when it came to a main event. And frankly, for Islam, it was just like a dud win on his record. Whereas, if he had actually beaten Arman a second time, that would have a lot more strengthening for his legacy. He ends up going to welterweight after that. So obviously, Arman, he screwed up. You don't see that many pullouts on a main event, let alone a day from the fight. So Arman's in the penthouse. He hadn't fought in a couple months then. So now he's like, at that point, he's pushing almost a year. He just screwed over them on a business side. They had to put on a crappy main event. So he tries to make it back to them. they always need backups, especially probably when they're dealing with very, very high level fights. So Arm ends up weighing as the backup at 317. As history will say, he did not end up actually competing that night, but he was the backup. He made weight, not easy. Presumably was also in a training camp in the event that he would have had a fight. I believe this was the Charles versus Ilya fight, so he ended up just being the backup. But it was very important because you're fighting for the vacant belt. You have no idea if one or both of these guys won't make weight. So yeah, it's important to have someone who's still considered at the time the number one contender. So he did his due diligence. Now, so he makes the backup, as we've seen in the past with people like Colby Covington. You do that, that's perceived as, hey, you're a company man. We're going to think highly of you, especially when there's a future opportunity that you can be involved in. No. So if we go back more recently, he fought Dan Hooker in the main event of, was it Qatar? That was perceived as kind of like a, and I'll jump around as I'm jumping around to the rankings. That was perceived as something like, okay, he hadn't fought in a while. And the idea was that Dan was, and he still is ranked 6, even though he got smoked. The idea was, hey, you're ranked number 1, you haven't fought in a while, and you did us dirty. You need to get a win just to stay relevant in the fans' eyes, and we just want to see like how you look against stiff competition. Dan, probably not the hardest, especially when you think of some of the other names that he could have fought. Dan was definitely in some ways a freebie. He ends up smoking him. Go watch that fight back. It was a pretty good masterclass. He showed really good defense when it came to things like the guillotine. But on top of that, he showed really aggressive striking, really good ground and pound, and then he obviously finished him by submission. So outside of a flash, Jorge Masvidal first round knockout, he did arguably the best he could have done to not only impress the fans, but impress the UFC to say, hey, I'm still very much at the top of this division, and I can give Ilya, or whoever else is the champ, a lot of problems. But we go on to find out, and hopefully ESPN does not spike this channel, but this is what he had to say in an interview regarding some rumors he heard or was told through the manager Grapevine only 2 days before his main event fight with Dan Hooker after coming out of over a year absence.
2 days before.
Okay, so you didn't know about the Gaethje thing as well.
I got stressed 2 days before, 1 day before when they announced that fight.
So if you don't know, and you're putting the dots together, he was aware, and he even said he was aware that Paddy versus actually Ilya was in the works months in advance. Obviously, Ilya is going through a divorce. His wife's trying to take everything he owns. I feel for you, brother. Divorces can be nasty. Pray for the kids. But yeah, he knew, this is what he claimed, that 1 to 2 days before he was set to make his return in a main event in what's perceived as and was said by, I believe, Dana in the presser before Qatar, hey, this is going to be a number 1 contenders fight. Whoever wins this should be fighting Ilya down the road. He finds out that Ilya's out of the picture completely. And on top of that, they're putting these two fellas as the intern, the intern title fight. And he's going to this weight cut. Like, talk about being dirty. The fact that this was already in the works because they're getting ready to market it, and these guys are in training camp. So obviously internally, people are going to know. But the fact that this was probably intentionally spread to Arman before his return fight is kind of crazy. Because the amount of stress you're thinking of, okay, so you're telling me no matter how good I do, no matter how much of a performance I put on, it's inevitable that these two are going to get the shot and I'm just going to be left out in the dust. Just as Dana said, you miss your opportunities, they move on without you. You have to go back in the queue. And I don't know what to say. I mean, as a man who loves wrestling, and I hope some of my listeners do too, this is giving me callbacks to the legendary feud of Stone Cold Vince McMahon. Now, obviously, these guys are scripted, and they drink beers afterwards and yap and talk politics. Who knows what they do did behind closed doors. But if you know, you know. This is actually how you make money. This is how you do good business. And if UFC is a business and not a sport, which is what I said, 2 weeks ago in my video, Go check that one out. This is something that I don't know how UFC could leverage it, but they kind of should. And if UFC's not willing to leverage it, and Dana truly does not like Arman and says "F you, go kick sand," Arman should take advantage of this, because at the end of the day, he has a contract with them. They got to give him fights, and let's be real, the Vision, it's all booked up. Like Arman, they have Charles versus Max. They're going till they're fighting in March, so not available. Probably won't be available till maybe end of summer, fall. Justin's booked with Patty in January. Dan Hooker's already booked, I believe, in February with I think like Benoit Satan. I'm trying. He's booked with someone. I think he's booked with Fiziev. Benoit Satan is booked with who's it? Rufi. Like, I just named, like, out of the top 10, like, they're all booked. The only guys that are available are, like, Money Marcano. He's already being Benil, so that doesn't make sense. Chandler, he's called out, but he's also said, like, there's no point in fighting Chandler because he stinks, and I'm a big Chandler guy. But he shouldn't even be ranked at this point. But the point is, like, there's no, like, in Torres, sure, you got ranked down. He has a really good win. Frasiam, like, he just got ranked. He just got a good win this weekend. But, like, they're very on the outskirts, and they don't have big names. And they're frankly both dangerous fights for him. If I was Arman, like, you got to be as active as possible and actually try to put yourself as this anti-hero. Like, you got screwed, and it's entirely this guy's, Dana's big malicious attitude, his, hate towards you for reasons that you were able to, redeem yourself with. I mean, you made weight. You could have saved an event, hypothetically, if one of those two guys got hurt or who knows what. So at the end of the day, Arman, he's got to do something because 2026 could be the year of him. If you think about it like this, Ilya's a wild card, so while he's still obviously trying to chase that massive legacy fight, he should just go on like a killing spree. For lack of better words, go on a killing spree. Go kill Renato. And I love the money man, but go kill him. It's an easy fight. Maybe go kill Chandler, because let's be real, Chandler keeps holding on hope that he's going to get Conor, but now Conor's calling out Islam. And let's be real, Conor versus Islam, I don't see why like Dana wouldn't be like, yes, that makes total sense. So have him kill Chandler after. It's a big name. It'd probably be an exciting fight, and there is some risk just with Chandler's explosiveness, but I don't see why he wouldn't be able to crack that really glass chin and also just take him down and ground and pound him. But if you keep getting all these kills, and every time you go on your post-fight interview, and you're just like, for lack of better words, doing what Stone Cold would do with Vince, just take a crack at the company, take a crack at Dana. Don't be like overly disrespectful, because unlike WWE where it's scripted and they could actually say the most vulgar, bra and panty, this and that, and God knows what else. If you're not watching WWE, you gotta go watch the Peak Attitude Era and even the Ruthless Era. But he can't go super far, and he can't say anything that's like downright offensive, but he can tell it like it is. And every time he gets those blips, even pre-fight, post-fight interviews, this and that, just keep hammering, because eventually the fans, it's gonna grow his popularity presumably, and B, they might actually put some pressure, because they obviously are perceiving, these two as a bigger, money-making fight than if Arman was involved, because it's a business. There's other guys that aren't entertaining or less entertaining than Arman that they'll still put in massive fights because they know it's good for business. And obviously, I understand where they're coming from. Justin, very entertaining fighter. Patty, also very entertaining fighter. Patty, young, up-and-coming, probably the future, carrying a whole country behind him. Justin, historically, track record, never puts on boring fights. So this is a safe bet for your first main event in Paramount. Totally makes sense. But moving forward afterwards, especially if one of these boys, damn, he's got a receding hairline. I feel for you, Justin. If one of these two boys ends up winning and gets like minimal damage, and Ilya still has this like weird, well, not weird, but if his ex-wife is still taking him out in the courts and claiming half his wealth, and he just isn't mentally ready to fight yet, I'd say try to get Arman a fight against one of these, I don't want to say chumps, but Just try to get him a fight. And then maybe, like I said, if UFC can lean into it to make Arman's title fight even bigger, try to crap on him. Try to really perceive his opponents like good old Michael Iron Chandler like a threat, even though he's not. And then the hope is that maybe Arman can get a fight or two in around January, and then maybe another one around March or April. And then whenever they're going to do this unification belt, however they structure this, at that point, Arman will be on, what it would be like a 7-8 fight win streak. He's on, let's see, because he hasn't fought that recently or frequently. He has 1 finish, 2, 3 with another finish, 4 wins, 5 wins. So he has the loss to Gamrot. He's on a 5-fight win streak. If he can get 2 more wins, that's 7 fights. And then if you go all the way back, it's like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He'll be 12 in his last 13 with a lot of finishes against very high, Charles, Beneil, Hooker. Like, he'll have a lot of names on his, cap. So that's my hope, is that I don't expect Arman to lose anytime soon, at least until he gets to a fight with someone like Ilya, where there's actual good chances he'll lose that. But until he fights Ilya or even maybe Paddy, everyone else, I think he's probably a favorite to win. I will say, as the last point, is that he said he wants to fight for the BMF belt. And I don't like that, only because of the fact that he's been inactive. And the BMF belt, if we're looking at it, the BMF belt's not being fought till March 7th. Don't get me wrong. Oliveira Arman 2 for 5 rounds, no less, that would be a great fight. Holloway versus Arman, I think it's very compelling, especially with Holloway's very good defense. And I would give him the favor on the feet when it comes to striking. That's why I think that's a very compelling fight. But the problem is, these two are probably going to go to war unless it's a flash finish, which means they're not going to want to fight until, let's see, it's March, so April, May, June, maybe end of June, July. Unless they try to get in the White House. But the White House is probably going to be reserved for special, fights, especially with Trump seemingly influencing with what he said was 7 to 8 championship fights. At that point, he's going to have to wait another, 6 or 7 months for his next fight? Like, no, Arman, you took no damage in Qatar. You got to get back in there sooner rather than later. Just fight someone, and then you get more exposure, especially on UFC platform, because they're really not going to cancel you. Like, if he's on the main card, he's always going to get a slot to interview, even if they know deep down he's going to take a shot at Dana. He's going to take a shot at all the lightweight guys, saying they're all cowards, this and that. No one wants to actually call him out because he's the rightful number 1 outside the champ. And it's going to do very good, especially on probably sound bites, if he can, be a little funny. And his English isn't too shabby compared to some other folk in that region. His English holds up well. So I have hopes for him. I really think this could be a very, especially if he ends up being the champ and, proves Dana wrong and this and that. Oh, this would be nice. This is like a callback to when Colby was trying to be champion and Dana like refused to acknowledge him, and then he would go like find him in like the casino and film him. Go like that one up if you haven't watched that. It's cringy, but it's funny. Hope you enjoyed the rant. Let me know what you think. Is Arman versus Dana gonna be the feud we expect to see throughout next year? And do you think Arman's eventually gonna get that title shot, or is he gonna be inactive? Or even worse, I want to say, is he going to lose to some random up-and-comer, some mid-tier ranked lightweight while he continues to stay active? But yeah, like, subscribe, and let me know what you think.